5 from Chestnut. The female party refused to turn custody of the child over. I'm coming in to investigate further the situation. Status 4.
That is scanner traffic from the Mamaroneck Police Department obtained by our friends over at the Journal News. It was from the day before 2-year-old Gabriella Boyd died. Now, in a minute, we will look at the timeline and the police and Child Protective Service responses with the attorney representing Gabriella's father. But first, we wanted to fill you in on how officials are handling this situation. Both police and CPS, Child Protective Services, they're taking a lot of heat, and many they're complaining about the lack of communication. The Journal News wrote an editorial on that. Here's a portion of it. Authorities have released virtually no information. The Mamaroneck Village Police won't say a thing, referring inquiries instead to the village attorney, who says only that an investigation is taking place. Neither the Westchester County District Attorney's Office nor Westchester County's Police, which is investigating, will answer questions. A statement from the DA's office released last Tuesday said only that the mother was charged Tuesday with 2 felonies connected to her attack on the police. Now, that is referring to the toddler's mother, Cynthia Arce. She fought with police when they arrived at her home. Police say she attacked them with a knife and injured 2 of them. Cops then used the stun gun on her, but when that didn't stop her, they then shot her. She is still at Westchester Medical Center. Now, earlier today, I spoke about her and a lot more with Martin Rosen, the attorney representing Gabriella's father, Stephen Boyd. I think, like many, I have a lot of questions here because a lot of the things don't seem to add up. But before we start late Friday afternoon, take us back before this. Obviously, your client was really concerned with the safety and well-being of his daughter enough that he went to the courts and he sought protection for her. What gave him concern about her well-being?
Well, the straw that broke the back was a notification by the mother to him, both by voicemail and text, that she had been thrown out of the house by her mother. She lived with the grandmother and the child in Mamaroneck and had no place to live. And then I heard the voicemail, which sounded like sayonara. I mean, it sounded like she was signing off, told my client that take care of Gabby, make sure Gabby's always well for the rest of her life. Very disturbing remarks. So Stephen at that time asked me to protect him and protect the child, and we prepared the necessary papers during that week. We filed them with the court on the afternoon, or sometime on the 26th of April. The judge signed the order on April 27th. It was emailed back to me. I emailed back to my client. My client then served the Mamaroneck police personally with the order. Now, the order was an order to show cause with 2 interim directions in the order. One was that he was given physical custody of the child, and 2, which is the equivalent of an order of protection, that the mother was to stay away both from him and the child. Now, the judge had a right to cross off those interim directions, but because of the powerful affidavit that was submitted, he chose to leave it in there and be safe, rather safe than sorry. So there was an order there that was served.
So 2 officers escort your client to the Arce household.
I don't know how many officers. I know once served, the police did 2 things. They called the CPS and advised them of this.
Child Protective Services, yep.
Correct. And after that, the police officers went to the house and my client met them there. My information is that the officers knocked on the door, it was opened, the mother was served with the order, and I believe that the police then asked for the child, and the mother said no and slammed the door.
Okay, so here is where I think most people are surprised, and you can tell us if this is an anomaly or this is how it works. Once the door is slammed in the face, with an order in hand, why is it at that point judgment or discretionary as to whether or not to remove the child if a court has already deemed that there's justifiable reason to be concerned for this 2-year-old's safety?
There is no justification in my mind.
Is it discretionary, or does the law mandate they need to extract the child?
There's an order. giving my client immediate physical custody of that child. I don't see any discretion to be given to anyone. The only discretion anybody had was the judge as to whether he signed the order to show cause in the form submitted.
Now, there's more than one player here. The police, if they have a question, I would think have places to go. They can call the judge, which I understand is reachable 24/7 at least, so get clarity from the judge. If they have a question, what do we do? Child Protective Services, I hear later on that evening, made a visit. Apparently you weren't aware of that, nor was your client. So walk me through the intervening hours from when they leave the Ars household and they come back to the station. Who talks to who about what to do next?
I was on the phone several hours with police officers, detectives, lieutenants, and an assistant district attorney, pleading with them to get into that house and follow the mandate of the order.
What did they tell you?
I could get no relief. I think the assistant district attorney made it clear that this is a civil matter and she couldn't take any steps in this matter. And I have no problem with that statement. My problem is more focused on the police who are asked to enforce a valid court order. Now, sometime later on that evening, I have ascertained that CPS contacted the police and said that they were now going to go over to the house and investigate, and I assume retrieve the child. And I think CPS probably invited the police to join them. The police did not join them. CPS went over there, knocked on the door, there was no answer. Now, whether there was nobody home, or whether because she had already been served with the order, nobody was going to answer the door because they were hiding in the house because they knew already, having been served, what that order provided. So they couldn't do anything. And that was the end of the day, as far as I know, on the 27th.
We get to Saturday, and we get to the 911 call.
Saturday, a 911 call comes in, I'm told, at approximately 1:30 in the afternoon. My information that it was the grandmother who called and said, somebody is dying, please get over here. My information is that everybody under the sun came, the police, EMS, or ambulances. They went into the house. They found the child covered with vomit and unresponsive. They removed the child to a hospital, and then the police went in to search the house to see what was going on, at which time they were confronted with and assaulted by the mother, who had two, I think it was knives with her, and harmed two of the police officers, who subsequently tried to tase her. It didn't work, I'm told, and then one of the officers shot her.
Let me
say one other thing. I apologize. My client didn't know about this. My client gave them all of his contact information on Friday. The police contacted him at 4 p.m. that day. 2.5 hours later, after the child was recovered, sent to a hospital, and the police were assaulted. 2.5 hours. And then he went over to the precinct, was advised that the child was at a hospital in the emergency ward. He left, raced over to the hospital. His parents and other members of the family met him, at which time they told the child had expired.
So we're going to be obviously waiting for the findings of the autopsy, which I understand are going to take place in this case. Where do we go from here? There was a court hearing today. Ms. Ars was not in attendance. Walk us through the next steps of justice for this poor kid.
From a criminal point of view, and I'm not a criminal lawyer, I can only say that I think she's already been arraigned or charged with 2 serious felonies, attempted murder. No charges have been made against Ms. Ars dealing with the child yet, because, as you said, the coroner's medical report has not been finalized. From a criminal point of view, that's with the district attorney's office and how they're going to handle it. From a civil point of view, I'm not at liberty to tell you what's going to happen, because a final decision has been made by my client and myself.
I assume that will be coming in the future, but as you said, to be determined.
Well, it's the issue of accountability
right
here, why this tragic event took place.
And seemingly unnecessary as well. Martin, thank you, and I feel for the father here, Mr. Boyd. No one should have to go through this. Thank you for your time.
My pleasure.
We'll be right back, everyone, so please stay with us.